Welcome to the world of Sega Mega CD. Despite the fact that this particular add-on was also a flop due to this unnecessary appearance, and on top of all that stuff though, much like the Sega Mega 32X, for its sake of the forms of our Let's Play of Knuckles Chaotix back in 2020, then you most likely get the idea of why both the Sega Mega CD and Sega 32X are both flopped for add-ons for the Sega Mega Drive. So, hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, and today we're going to be presenting one of those final two Let's Plays we're going to be doing for the sake of the forms of 2022. And since that Christmas is pretty much wrapped up for this point, and because of that though, today marks the Boxing Day of all things, which appears to be by the forms of December 26th, so as a result, the first game we're going to be tackling through in terms of the finale portions of 2022, we're going to be hit on to Sonic Megamix, which is a fan-made Sonic game been out for a very long time. Now, I definitely heard about this game before, and I've seen several other Let's Plays of the game in the past. However though, I haven't exactly gone around into this game until now. So as a result, as you can tell, the version I'm playing on is the Mega CD version, or Sega CD for those of you who lived in North America. And as far as I can recall, this version right here is actually version 4.0, because the reason why I say things is because, well, you see why until when it gets to the point until the later parts of this Let's Play. So as a result, yeah, this is Sonic the Hedgehog Megamix for the, I would say the Mega Drive or Genesis or Sega Mega CD. Although mind you, I'm playing the Sega CD version of the game, despite the fact that you can clearly tell that the sound quality is a bit slightly off, and also on top of all that stuff though, the actual game footage is a bit slow at points. That's only mainly because I somehow managed able to actually access to the game for the sake of the phones of the emulator, because I don't have my Sega Mega CD with me, because it's pretty disgustingly expensive at this rate. So, and there's no way for me to able to gain myself the Sega Mega CD add-on because, well, I'm running out of plug sockets for my game unit storage. So, well, specifically into my cabinet, you know. So, anyway, so here's the Sonic the Hedgehog Mega Mix for the sake of the forms of the Mega CD version as I'm playing on. Basically, it plays out pretty much like the traditional Mega Drive / Genesis classic Sonic game. You're still able to run in 2D plane, and on top of all that stuff though, you run into those bandits you can able to destroy, and also some of these items you can able to find as well. And of course, just like in any other Sonic games, there will be Chaos Emeralds to collect, and naturally speaking, this is almost entirely based off from Sonic the Hedgehog 1, although, except the fact that, as you can tell, from the actual standpoint of this entire visual presentation, it almost kind of feels like a Sonic CD build engine or something like that. And basically though, as you can tell, that you saw the Sonic Super Peel Out animation, as well as the forms of that particular I'm out of here sprite, when he launches in midair, and then he'll eventually try to land and stuff like that, which I'll explain more details in a second, because here's the first special stage in terms of Sonic Megamix, and basically, it's basically just Sonic the Hedgehog 1 special stages, except the fact that, as you can tell, it does manage to take place in a different environment this time around, which I'm pretty sure that, and also comes in with the forms of the music itself too. Like, we notice about the fact that we've already heard that familiar music from the likes of the forms of the first zone in the game, known as Sunny Shores, and basically that particular music on Act 1 is actually based off from a Missouri Lake from the likes of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 Competition Mode. And also for the first special stage, as you hear for that particular familiar background music, is actually based off from Sky Century Zone from Sonic & Knuckles. And also, if you manage to get the Chaos Emeralds, the music jingle in the background is actually based off from Sonic Events 1 and 2, if you manage to obtain a Chaos Emerald. So, yeah, that's sure it's something. So here we go on to Act 2, and of course you know exactly what this music is actually from. It's of course Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, as to be expected, and that's based off from Angel Island Zone Act 2. So yeah, something's worth mentioning, except the fact that there's no fiery background, it's just all bright and cheery and everything, so, which is pretty swell. Oh, and also as you can see, is the fact that usually every time you kill these enemies, or if you defeat those certain badniks, as you can see, we actually got ourselves a ring out of it. So yeah, that's actually interesting, especially noticeable because usually back in the previous Sonic games for sure, that you're able to actually free those critters, or in some cases in Sonic CD for its flowers, for its sake of the forms of the entire nature. Well, for this game in particular though, every time you destroy the badnik, then you get yourselves a singular ring, which is always nice. Especially noticeable if you're a little bit too panicky at this point, especially noticeable if you're trying to able to like, well, let's just say if you have no rings left, and then if you think you're about to be out of luck, well, luckily for you, you can able to actually get a freebie ring if you just somehow manage to able to destroy the badnik. So yeah, that's actually super dope and everything. So, and also, since about the fact that for this majority of this playthrough, I'm actually going to be doing something that's a little bit more unique. And that is the fact that I'm going to be switching between those different characters for the sake of the forms of this playthrough, which each and every single zone. Like, for example, as I mentioned this before, this particular build of Sonic Megamix as I'm playing right now is actually based off from version 4.0, which means I will able to actually not only play as a multitude of characters, but also each and every single zones do have their own different names to it. So, yeah, which I'm about to be doing for the sake of the forms of this playthrough. But here's the thing though, I'm going to be showing you guys the playable characters based off from your first appearance on. So like, for example, in the first zone, obviously I'm going to be playing Sonic on the first zone, because it's pretty obvious because I am the main character of the game, and of course that he first appeared in 1991. And as soon as we get into Zone 2 and Zone 3, then it will be a little bit more slightly different, so yeah, you probably get the idea about that. So here we go on to the second special stage. Now, here's a little bit stingy about the forms of this special stage, I find, is that between special stage 1, and especially noticeable with this special stage in particular as well, that I swear to Christ that whenever I was trying to get the Chaos Emeralds, but as you can tell, it's almost gone closer to those goal spaces, and then if you accidentally touch the goal spaces, well, much like in Sonic 1, and as well as Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1 before one hand, basically it kicks you out of the special stage, and then you continue where you left off. So, yeah, but thankfully I did manage to down on the first attempt though, but sometimes it can be felt a bit too picky at times, so yeah, that's something worth noting for. So here we go on to Sunny Shores Act 3, where basically though, it's just basically Green Hill Zone, but a lot more colorful in nature. And also the background music as they use for Act 3 is actually based off from Sunset Hill Act 2 music from Sonic Advance 3. So yeah, that's something that's worth noting for the sake of the forms of trying to mention that stuff. And also, since about the fact that I'm going to be switching between those different characters and what have you during certain portions throughout the game, basically, for example, there is that invincibility box that you can able to actually just try to find in certain stages. Certain characters do have their own different unique themes for utilizing the forms of the invincibility theme. So, yeah, it seems pretty interesting, all things considered, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, I'm pretty sure Sonic's invincibility theme is just basically, it's like Sonic Megamix title screen remixed. So, yeah, you probably get the idea about that. And also, I really love the caption, by the way, saying, "Boss time," which means, much like any forms have been Sonic the Hedgehog 1, basically though is the fact that, well, relatively speaking, there's some boss fights every once in a while. Although I would have liked to able to discuss upon Sonic's movesets, but honestly guys, I think I'm honestly running out of time for the sake of the forms of trying to mentioning Sonic's movesets, but I'm gonna say this a brief second. So, yeah, basically Sonic's moveset is that not only does it have himself this usual spin dash as well as a super peel out, but also he can able to perform a light speed dash, which you can only be activated if you go near to those trio of rings, which is pretty swell. And also he does manage to contain a jump dash or a homing attack, which if you do manage to pull this off by simply pressing the jump button twice, and yeah, it kind of reminds me of when Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1 first happened. So in this case though, there's not much else to say about this here, because, well, we're basically done with the first zone. And now we'll move on to the next zone called Dark Fortress Zone, and as you can see, I managed to able to do a massive powerful of editing and this means I can play as Tails on this particular level, because obviously, your faces for the sake of the forms of characters' first appearance of, so yeah, that's what I'm essentially going to be doing for the sake of the forms of this entire Let's Play of, so... And also, as you can tell, is the fact that the actual HUD system is actually a little bit more different, so... Because obviously with Sonic's UI design is actually based off from... I would classify for saying since based off from Sonic the Hedgehog 1 or something. And, relatively speaking though, I haven't exactly looked upon that much Let's Plays for a very, very long time, since, back in the 2000s, so... Yeah, I'm a little bit too rusty at this point, but regardless of such though, I will try my best able to mention something more about it when it comes to this game in particular, so... So yeah, for Dark Fortress Zone is entirely based off from Marble Zone, as you can tell, because of all that familiar obstacles and, you know, platforms and stuff like that, as well as a lot of lava you do need to avoid. But it does have some very familiar elemental shields based off from the forms of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. So in this case, we do actually come across into ourselves where we saw the bubble shield from the first zone, which somehow Sonic never actually performs the actual elemental shield actions, which, I wonder what that's about, huh? Although, we'll get to more details onto that until whenever we get to the third zone. So in this case though, is the fact that, as you can tell, unfortunately I somehow managed to accidentally got hit by those very unpredictable caterpillar-like enemies. But anyway though, so let's go ahead and hit the monitor, which contains a 1-up. And remember that music? That's actually based off from obtaining the extra life from Sonic Events 1, 2, and 3. So, that's something worth noting for. And also, Tails does have its own unique abilities as well, such as, for instance, as you saw, Tails actually uses a tail whip, which that will be useful for certain scenarios, which it kind of reminds me of the forms of that moveset from Sonic Adventure, and also say applies to Sonic Events as well. So, yeah, it's pretty awesome actually. And also, that invincibility theme you're hearing is actually based off from the Genesis version of Sonic 3D Fleeky's Island. So, yeah, forgive me if I somehow managed able to get some bit of mistakes there, but that's because, oh man, for what I've managed to play this game, I had a lot of fun with this. Especially noticeable, despite the fact that I was expecting to try out the USA version of the game to make things a lot more smoother. But unfortunately though, the PAL version is the only ones I've managed to got at the moment, which makes things a little bit awkward sometimes. But regardless of such though, that might be something worth noting for, so... And of course, just like in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, Tails has the ability to fly, so in this case though, nothing new for this point, apart from the fact that, well, relatively speaking, like I said before, not only does it have their own unique invincibility themes, as well as the 1-up jingle, but also the victory themes. So, for instance, in the Sonic's character theme, when it comes to likely for its victory theme, is obviously based off from Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles' victory theme. And as far as Tails' victory theme is concerned, is actually based off from Sonic Events 1 and 2 and 3 with their victory victory themes. So yeah, that's actually pretty awesome actually. And on top of all that stuff though is the fact that usually for the 1-up jingle, as far as I mentioned this earlier, that basically Sonic's jingle is just, well, a traditional Sonic the Hedgehog 1 obtained in 1-up thing, but it does have a unique addition to that, which is actually goes like, yes, which is actually based off from the quote from the likes of Sonic CD, if you manage to obtain the 1-up, which is kind of unfortunate. In Sonic Origins, managed able to remove that feature, because instead we actually got ourselves a bit of a, well, a generic sound effect if you manage to obtain the 1-up, or in some cases the special coin. So that's a bit unfortunate, I must say, but still, I have no complaints about it too much about it though, but that might be something that's a bit unfortunate for some. And also, much like in Sonic the Hedgehog 1, in order to obtain the continue system in this game, basically you have to collect 50 rings in the special stages themselves. So that's something worth knowing for if you really want able to know what this is happening. So, and also the level layout is actually brand new for the time, back in the day that is. Like, although the actual themes might be kind of identical to the likes of certain zones from Sonic the Hedgehog 1, but I will have to admit it though right away, I really love the visual style for the sake of the forms of this game in particular, which is pretty swell I have to say. And also the actual theme, as you hear, is actually based off from Volcanic Valley, from the likes of Sonic 3D Blast or Sonic 3D Flicky's Island, if you want to be more precise with. And yeah, as a result though, I think this is actually based off from Act 1 theme of Volcano Valley. So yeah, that might be something worth noting for. And also, as I said before, today's date is of course the 26th of December today, in this case in 2022 today. So in this case, this is the Boxing Day today, so happy Boxing Day everybody. So I just want to let you guys know if you have some fun today, and yeah, that's as far as I can try to explain. Although, relatively speaking, not long now until we're approaching onto the new year, which is 2023. So 2023 is going to be super promising, which I think we already explained about this in the past, so I don't feel like trying to mention about this for quite some time now. So yeah, you get the idea about that. And also, as you notice, that the electric shield is back, and basically it functions the same way as the forms of how it does it on, well, pretty obviously from the likes of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, so... Oh, and not only that, is the fact that, relatively speaking, not only does certain characters do have their own unique, victory themes, alongside with the forms of the unique UI designs, but also is the fact that they've managed able to get their unique designs of these monitors from certain items. I know for the fact that for Sonic and Tails, I'm pretty sure they both managed to share the exactly the same monitors as to each other, which is actually based off from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but until when it gets to the point until the later characters to come, basically, they do have their different amount of designs from those item monitors, which is actually pretty unique in that respect. So, which again, we'll point it out whenever we get into it. So, and also this game does have a lot of emphasis on quite a few springs, and as well as from that, we actually got ourselves a, I'm not gonna lie, a pretty cool dash panel, which it does manage able to give you a lot of speed. So as a result, it does kind of reminds me of the forms of like the, well, let's just say like a, I don't know what you would call it, like a 2D version of Sonic Adventure or something. So, yeah, it's actually pretty something. And also the way in order able to go and actually access the special stages though, it feels very similar to the forms of how it does it on Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and Sonic CD, where basically you have to collect 50 rings and make your way to the end of a level, and then simply jumping into the giant ring as you go. So yeah, nothing different from there. But you know, you get the idea about that. Oh yeah, the UI for Tails' playthrough is actually based off from Sonic the Hedgehog 3... No, sorry. Sonic 3D Flicky's Island's UI design. So, yeah, forgive me if I managed able to actually budge things up a little bit, because I was a little bit too tired after the events of, you know, the most exciting Christmas day from the likes of Venya yesterday. So, yeah, I'll promise you guys until tomorrow, then I should be a little bit more active at this point. So, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, relatively speaking, this game is going to be quite short, so don't expect things too much about it though, which I almost first thought that whenever I first played this game, I almost first thought they'll bring in some new zones or brand new more zones to the table, but apparently that it's going to be based off from Sonic the Hedgehog 1 sometimes. So anyway though, dang it, I couldn't move! And the emerald is right there too. Yeah, there were a few times though, in this particular version as I'm playing on, there were a few unstable moments here and there, such as for instance that you might occasionally get stuck for certain situations. Like there was that one time I managed able to play the game by my own time just to practice the actual game in my department, and I somehow got stuck onto this particular part, and yeah, it just somehow gives me a bit of a soft lock, and there's no way you can able to get out of this unless you reset the game. So, although the only thing is worth noting for, I'm pretty sure it does have a save system, I'm pretty sure. Mind you, I'm playing this on the emulator, so I have no common sense for the sake of the forms if you're trying to able to download the game onto your CD-ROM or something like that, but it knows what it is, I guess. And also for that fourth special stage, for that particular background, is actually based off from, I would say the third special stage from Sonic CD, from that particular environment that takes place, which is always swell. Alright, now on to Act 3, where basically we're able to, well, fight the next boss. So, I think for the most part is the fact that most of those boss fights in this game might be, well, let's just say, identical to the likes of Sonic the Hedgehog 1, although there are quite a few differences here and there. Like, for example, you remember in the forms of in the Sunny Shores zone, that we once again managed able to beat Dr. Robotnik or Eggman for that particular Wrecking Ball machine. Basically though, the only difference is this time than the likes of how it does it on Sonic 1 version of that particular boss fight is the fact that we have to deal with him with one platform as opposed to two platforms, and thus one platform starts to move every now and then. So yeah, that's sure it's something, I guess. And also, this particular music right here is based off from, well, Act 2 of Volcano Valley Zone from Sonic 3D Flicky's Island. So, or Sonic 3D Blast, if for those of you who lived in North America, so... Which, kind of think about it, I still can't even believe it's been about 25 years ago since when Sonic 3D Flicky's Island, or 3D Blast, came out on the Sega Saturn. So, yeah, time flies, doesn't it? But anyways, but it wasn't until when it gets to the point until in 1999, in Japan anyway though, they will receive the game only on the Sega Saturn version, not the Mega Drive or Genesis versions, so... That's sure something. And also certain badniks do have their different recolors of them. Oh, and by the way, the reason why I managed able to ignore the Robotnik's, you know, monitor, well, much like the forms of how it does it on Sonic the Hedgehog 3, when I managed able to play Launch Base Zone back then, if you dare hit the actual Eggman's face on the monitor, you lose all of your rings. So, yeah, just be very careful. I fell into the lava by complete accident. Oh well. But at the very least, we're almost nearly at the end of the level, so, and also take on the next boss, so... And I'm pretty sure it does also feature the boss themes here and there as well, depending on what zone we go into. So, like, on the first zone, the boss theme is based off from Sonic & Knuckles' boss theme, and the second boss's theme is actually based off from, I would say, like a remix version of Sonic 2 boss theme. So, yeah, sure, it's something. And, oh, wait a second, this boss is not done yet. Ah, there's actually more to it than that. So yeah, basically the next boss fight, as you can see, fight against with Dr. Eggman again. And this time around though, although in the first phase, as you notice, that he behaves exactly like the forms of how it does it on, well, let's just say, Bridge Zone from Sonic 1 on the Game Gear, where basically his mobile decides to able to pop up a little bit, and then basically he starts to spew out those fireballs, and then you have to able to dodge them, and only one hit on him on the first phase? Jeez, he's probably the most easiest boss in the game. Well, it turns out the boss itself, as I said, is not done yet because he has a second phase, which now he starts to able to summon those different red ball things, and then he basically just goes one part to another, and then basically you have to able to just usually hit him for about 8 times. And how the heck did I manage to go hit right there? Nah, it doesn't matter because we already done this zone, so... Nicely done for Tails' favor, especially noticeable that, again, if you're new playing this game, then basically though, Tails will be the easy mode, basically, so... And I guess that's it for Dark Fortress Zone, and now we move on to the third zone, and that is City Outskirts Zone. And as you can see, my boy Mighty is here! Yes, we're finally going to be able to get a chance to play as Mighty in the Sonic game nonetheless. Well, that was before when Sonic Mania Plus was a thing after all. So yeah, let's get into the forms of City Outskirts Zone quickly. And basically we can able to take control of Mighty without utilizing the forms of a Tiver ring attached to it. So yeah, that's actually super cool and everything. Speaking of such though, is the fact that as you can tell, that obviously Mighty was first appeared in, you know, Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog on the arcade machine, so, yeah, it seems very obvious. And Tails was first appeared in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, after all, so... And as you can see, what is happening in the forms of that particular flame icon, as you can see on the top of the bottom right corner? Basically, Mighty's playstyle plays very unique, and that is the fact that, as you can tell, Mighty does have the ability to able to add storages for his elemental shields. So yeah, that's actually pretty awesome actually. Especially noticeable, he's the only character he can able to actually use the elemental shields. Like for example, he can able to use a fire dash for his flame shield, and also he can able to perform the bubble stomp for the sake of the bubble shield, and of course the electric shield for double jump and attracts rings as well. So, relatively speaking though, he's an awesome character to use, especially noticeable if you really want to use elemental shields, then he might be a good guy to use. So... Oh, and on top of all that stuff though, the invincibility theme is actually based off from Knuckles Chaotix, and same applies to the UI itself as well. And heck, even especially noticeable whenever we get to the end of a zone, or to be more specifically the act, basically his victory theme is based off from Knuckles Chaotix, although the only noticeable exception is obtain the extra life, because I'm pretty sure it's based off from Sonic and Knuckles, obtain the extra life jingle. So yeah, you probably get the idea of how this is going. And I think if I recall correctly, City Outskirts is actually based off from Spring Yard Zone, because you can definitely be familiar with that particular background as you see. And also some of these familiar buildings, sculptures, or structure itself, as well as those familiar badniks you have to deal with, including with that particular spiky-like enemy and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's something, I guess. And also, I really love the fact that it says Sonic 1 Remix, or Megamix, sorry, because as far as I'm aware, it's like a newer version of, well, let's just say this right now. This game to me, though, it feels like the Encore mode version of Sonic 1, because obviously the color palette of those familiar zones has been, you know, replaced. And on top of all that stuff though, with the new level design and stuff like that, with the level layout and everything, yeah, it feels like a precursor to the Encore mode from Sonic Mania Plus, basically. Although, that's, relatively speaking though, that's, well, that's as far as I can say about this, honestly. So yeah, Mighty himself in this game is pretty awesome to use, especially noticeable again with the elemental shields come into play, and also he got an instant shield. So yeah, it's actually very recommendable if you're trying to deal with those spiky enemies as you saw. And there's the Knuckles Chaotix victory theme. So yeah, that's actually pretty awesome. And since about the fact that we've only got 2 more Chaos Emeralds to go, so that means that we can potentially try to get the final 2 Chaos Emeralds as Mighty, so... And this background might look a bit familiar, as well as the music, because this is actually based off from Angel Island Zone from Sonic Advance. So, or Sonic N, if you managed able to purchase Sonic N on the N-Gage, which is just basically Sonic Advance, but with a bit of a sluggish performance, and as well as on top of all that stuff though, kind of a meh sound effects issues, but regardless of such though, yeah, that's just pretty much as far as I can try and discuss upon, so... And also you do realize is the fact that sometimes though you will come across into yourselves the another kinds of collectibles you can obtain, which is obviously the 1-up items, which it gives you as just a 1-up, and that's pretty much about it, so... Oh, and also the actual item monitors is actually based off from Knuckles Chaotix as well, except the fact that this is on the Mega CD, or anything else to be more specific. Well, it doesn't do this very cool rotating 32x 32-bit rotation thing if you receive the item animation or sprites or something like that. But, oh well, not the end of the world personally, but hey. Alright, so we've actually got ourselves 5 Chaos Emeralds, despite the fact that there's 1 Chaos Emerald missing, but still, regardless of such though, I can still, for surely, because of the forms of how the fact that sometimes the emulation can able to actually have a bit of struggle just trying to able to like, well, it's hard to explain really. Alright, so here we go with Act 2 with my favorite music theme in the game. I love Bloom Park music, which is obviously based off from Sonic 3 competition mode, so yeah, that's actually pretty fun. Although, except the fact that it doesn't have that fun circus elements to it though, kind of unfortunate, but it knows what it is, I guess, so... So, yeah, you get the idea about that, so... Oh yeah, something's worth mentioning. I was originally going to be able to try to play the recent version of the game, which is version 5.0. But unfortunately though, for what I've heard, it does have some bit of unstable moments here and there on version 5.0, such as the game actually crashes when, if you go to a special stage in the 5.0 version of the game, basically the 5.0 version of the game actually gets a bit of a similar treatment as in Sonic CD special stages. Like, you run in 3D environment, and then basically you have to, like, I believe you have to collect rings instead of destroy all the UFOs and stuff like that. And basically, if you haven't failed the special stage or clear the special stage and obtain a Chaos Emerald, I'm pretty sure the game will crash on 5.0. So that's why I'm going to be strictly go on to 4.0, which is a bit outdated now. But regardless of such though, I honestly don't care, because man, this game looks awesome, man. Especially noticeable because it actually really helps the fact that it does able to have a lot of replayability. Well, despite the fact that it will still retain 6 zones, just like in Sonic the Hedgehog 1, basically. And also, I just really love the fact that you can play as multiple characters in this particular game itself too, so... But hopefully, whenever we get around onto the 4th zone and the 5th zone, hopefully we're able to conclude the rest of the character roster for the sake of this entire playthrough, so... Yeah, so let me know in the comments down below for the question of the day. Have you guys ever played Sonic Megamix back in the young days? Or if you somehow managed able to play the game recently on the Sega Mega CD, or Sega CD for those of you who lived in North America, because I'd like to hear your thoughts, because personally speaking, I'm actually really enjoyed this so far. Like, usually relatively speaking, I just really love, like, the encore aesthetics with all that, you know, familiar zones in particular. But, you know, you get the idea. And I think, fundamentally speaking, I think you can only carry up to, like, I would say 3 or 4 elemental shields or something like that. Although I may be wrong, because I have to able to concentrate, able to keep my ring count for the sake of the 6th and final special stage. Oh, Mighty doesn't do for the actual Sonic Mania thing, where basically, if you dare touch the spikes, you can able to actually be invulnerable, but, oh well, we'll probably get around onto Sonic Mania Plus eventually, or if I like to do a redo Let's Play of Sonic Mania, for the sake of the forms of a better quality, and also the better commentary as well, just because, well, I honestly felt incredibly bad for, the 2017 version of that particular Let's Play has been, handled and everything, so... Anyways, here we go, on to the 6th and the final special stage. I don't think there's going to be a 7th special stage, I don't think, so... Oh well, not the end of the world personally, and I was so close to able to reach 200 rings on that particular act. And if you couldn't tell what this music theme is actually based off from, it's basically based off from Gene Gadget Zone from Sonic 3D Blast for specifically the Mega Drive and Genesis versions. So, seriously, I just have no idea why I keep on saying Sonic 3 and Knuckles so far. Well, that's only mainly because I'm still keep on thinking of my favorite video game of all time, alongside with Super Mario Galaxy 2 and all that kinds of video games I was, you know, a huge fan of, so yeah, the final emerald is just right over there, without needing to worry about touching the goal signposts here and there. All it gets is just, well, bumpers, basically. I'm pretty sure those bumpers are actually based off from Sonic CD, from the likes of Collusion Chaos Zone. Yeah, that could be something, alright. So there we go, folks, we've collected all 6 Chaos Emeralds, despite one of them is not visible, but it still counts as, well, we got them all. So, now we can just simply just go for the game as normal, so... Anyways, here we go on to Act 3 of City Outskirts. So, yeah, pretty cool level, I'm not gonna lie, with all that... Well, some familiar music, which I can't for the life of me cannot figure out which one of those other music is actually based off from, because I know I'm familiar with the Sonic music, but for the most part, I think there are some of the music was actually based off from certain Michael Jackson's video games or something. Well, I may be wrong, let me know in the comments down below. So, just for the sake of about the fact that if it's true or not. But, well, I've heard some articles about it though, but at least it's something. Oh man, I just really love the electric shield in this game too, especially because it really helps you a lot. Especially noticeable about the fact that, well, you can get so many extra lives in this game, as you can tell. But hey, at least it's something. But also I just really love the fact that every time, depending on what characters you be using, as you notice for that particular shield monitors, sometimes they do have their own different color to them though. Like, I believe Sonic was obviously blue, and then Tails was the yellow shield, and for Mighty it was actually red. So, pretty cool, huh? And I don't know what I can usually say about the forms of the other two characters eventually though, but we'll stay tuned for that until tomorrow. Oh, and also the checkpoints do look a bit different too, which I'll point it out whenever we get to the next video tomorrow, so... Alright, time for the boss fight against with Dr. Eggman, and he's exactly the same boss fight as you remember from Sonic 1. Although, the only difference is this time is the fact that we do have a different music theme, and on top of all that stuff though, we beat him with Mighty. So, good job Mighty, good job. So anyways though, I'm afraid to say for this point, we got the endings off at this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Sonic the Hedgehog Megamix for the Sega Mega CD version most likely. It's the fact that we're going to be hit on to the final 3 zones in the game. So yeah, it should be interesting. So I'll see you guys until, as I said, tomorrow. Later fellas.